Hi, and welcome to Reed's Audio Reading. I'm Reed, and I hope you enjoy my channel. Today, I'll be reading the adventure Stage Fright, written by Oliver Garpsch. This adventure was published in Dungeon Magazine, issue 77, November/December 1999. Stage Fright is an AD&D side-trick adventure for 3 to 5 characters of levels 1 to 3, about 8 total levels. The adventure takes place in a popular theater located at the edge of an entertainment district in the city of the DM's choosing. The PCs learn that the theater's latest production is among the best in the city. The PC's night on the town turns out, however, to be more than just a hot ticket. One of the PCs should be a wizard, as the rewards for completing the adventure are geared toward this class. Most of all of the PCs should be good aligned. Adventure background. 3 months prior to the PC's night on the town, the Midnight Theater held a one night only engagement called The Summoner, a dark tale about a merciless sorcerer and his lust for revenge against his family who abandoned him at birth because of his abnormal appearance. The owner of the theater, Kiran Miss, produced, directed, and played the lead role in all of his plays. Bards in the city considered his work brilliant and cutting edge. Kiran Miss was an 8th level illusionist, but few knew this. The idea for the summoner came to him after he purchased a script that turned out to be an ensnarement spell hidden by illusionary script. He planned to use the ensnarement spell to summon a genuine monster as a showpiece for the climactic finale of the play. Charon consulted a sage to find the best creature to summon for his play. The creature had to be voracious and loud, but dim-witted and controllable. He concluded that a red slad would be the best fit for the plot of his screenplay. Kiran hired a fellow guild member, a 7th level conjurer, to create a hand drawn magic circle that would dominate the middle of the stage. The conjurer would be off stage casting ensnarement and ventriloquism to make Kiran sound like he was casting the spell. The slad would remain in the circle during the fight and be directed by the conjurer to do nothing but glare and roar at the crowd until it was told to return home. The hero would arrive to witness the summoning and defeat Kiran in a fantastic magical battle created with spectral force. The hero would use the last of his magical energies to send the creature back to its own world before dramatically collapsing on stage at the end of the play. Kiran advertised for months prior to the debut of The Summoner. He and his troupe of actors did not disappoint. The Slod appearance on stage nearly overwhelmed the frightened audience. The ensnarement worked until the Slad realized that the magical circle had been compromised by one of the onstage actors. Enraged and disoriented, it leaped from the circle, killing every actor on stage, including the overmatched conjurer. Kiran was struck by the creature and flung into the seats. With the crowd screaming and bursting through the exits, the creature gorged itself on the fresh corpses before returning through the portal created by the ensnarement spell. Kiran survived. His theater was closed for a time pending investigation by the city watch. Then Kiran got sick. He had been injected with the egg pellet of the red slod, but did not know the cause of his illness. His affliction made him incredibly hungry, and over the next 3 months his weight doubled. The baby slod growing inside of him was devouring Kiran's life energy, starving him. He sought aid from the local clergy, but their ministrations failed. The city leveled a crippling fine on Kiran and barred him from creating any new productions within city limits. Kiran became desperate. 2 months after the theater held its last performance, Kiran decided to open the theater again. He hired a new theater director and tried to resurrect the theater as its new silent backer. The first shows were dismal failures. His new play, The Feast of a Gourmand, is a story about vampires and their obsessions with things they no longer share with the living. The plot is tame and the effects subdued. Kiran hopes people will reacquaint themselves with the theater and save him from financial ruin. A month has passed, and the PCs are now standing in line to see the show. The Midnight Theater. The theater is a tall one-story structure with a basement. The wooden seats are arranged in a semicircular pattern around the stage and music pit. The seats slope downward to allow a better view of the stage. The seating area and the stage are supported by a series of posts and beams set into the earthen foundation of the building. The area behind the stage has the actors' preparation areas, a small office, and a set of stairs leading to the basement. The basement has an earthen floor and is piled high with a maze of crates, racks of costumes, and boxes of theatrical odds and ends. The posts that support the upper floors are visible here. Slivers of light shine through the cracks in the ceiling, filling the basement with shadows. In one corner of the basement, groundwater leaks through the foundation wall, forming a small pool. Rats congregate around this site, foraging for bits of food that fall through the cracks in the ceiling during performances. Beginning the adventure. Explain to the PCs that they are gearing up for a night on the town. This could involve tavern hopping or street entertainment. The DM is encouraged to roleplay the good times leading up to the start of the evening to set the tone. The dressed up PCs eventually arrive at the Midnight Theater and get in line under a starlight sky. The PCs might have received the tickets for the show from a grateful NPC they have helped on a previous adventure. Alternatively, the DM could explain that the tickets were given to the PCs to cover a gambling debt or by the director of a rival theater interested in learning some of Karen's secrets. The PCs have heard the recent stories surrounding the theater over the course of the evening. The DM should paraphrase the events of the summoner, including rumors of Karan's disappearance, but be careful not to reveal specific information about the slod or the magic involved in creating the play. The PCs are seated in the back row in the center of the theater. The growing crowd is restless and talkative. Ushers seat the remaining standing individuals and the play begins. The sets are strikingly real and change completely after a few moments of darkness between acts. The story unravels. Gourmand is the hero. He's sickly pale and grossly overweight. Throughout the entire play, he eats from a heaping food platter and drinks from a goblet filled with blood. His attempts to seduce women and conquer men end in tragic failure with every sunrise. The crowd becomes sympathetic and emotional at times. The violence of Gourmand's feedings is subtle and even poetic. The PCs find themselves getting caught up in the passion of the story when the following events occur on center stage. Read the following box text to the players. Gourmand the vampire lifts his bulbous head up from the throat of the twitching body of his latest victim, Lady Sorrow. Tears stream down his pale face into his blood-lined mouth. Gourmand's fangs glisten in the glare of the spotlight. He looks up angrily at the moon hanging off at the left side of the stage and coughs somewhat unexpectedly. Gourmand begins a solemn monologue as flickering torches begin to light the stage, revealing the alleyway and the refuse surrounding him. Villagers carry the torches closer, and a priest raises his holy symbol with a trembling hand. They surround Gourmand as he speaks to the heavens, obvious to their presence. The priest begins to castigate the vampire. The villagers quake in fear behind him. Gourmand laughs and strides towards the priest, who backs away, his voice trailing off into a whisper. Gourmand begins to speak, then falls into his knees, clutching at his stomach. The priest and the villagers are startled. Gourmand rolls onto his back and screams horribly, pulling at his clothes. The villagers step back, and the priest cautiously approaches, holding the holy symbol in his outstretched hands. The priest looks confused. He glances back at the villagers, one of whom inadvertently shrugs his shoulders. Gourmand begins to spasm, and his shrieks disrupt, and dramatic music rising up from the pit. His shirt rips open, exposing an undulating bulge in his abdomen. Gourmand's body goes still, and his shrieks become whimpers. The priest calls into the rafters for the lights, his hands flailing wildly. Gourmand's abdomen bursts open, and a deformed frog like creature with an oversized mouth of sharp fangs rises out of it. The creature reaches into the corpse of Gourmand and tears the heart from his chest. The creature then turns to face the screaming audience and swallows the organ whole. As the spotlight falls on it, the creature rips up a floorboard and slithers under the stage. Everyone runs. You rise up out of your seat to watch the moon flicker and go dark. Four of the villagers' discarded torches blatantly illuminated the recesses of the stage. The buildings surrounding the alley lose their decorative facades and turn into lightweight wooden scaffolds. There is no clear way to get to the stage except to charge through the frenzied crowd. Fighting the Slod. Gourmand was Kiran Mists. He used hallucinatory terrain and spectral force spells to enhance the stage decor, but these spells fail with his passing. Kiran refused to let his sickness prevent him from acting in his plays. Kiran's magical disguise is revealed if his body is inspected. He used chained self spells to hide his identity. The PCs must brave the fleeing crowd to reach the stage area. The shock of witnessing the events on stage and the commotion in the theater make it impossible to attack the slot with missile weapons or ranged spells before it flees into the hole. PCs require 3 rounds and a successful wisdom check to get to the stage. Each failed check adds 1d2 rounds as the PCs blunders into an impassable crowd of people. Once the PCs are on the stage, they can enlarge the hole made by the slot, which expand 1 round, and descend through it, or they can go backstage and descend the stairs. It is a 10-foot drop to the floor of the basement area. If the PCs go down the hole, PCs suffer no damage from the fall if they take adequate precautions. The baby red slot is immature but feeds relentlessly on the vermin and other inhabitants of the theater basement. The PCs have 1 turn, 10 rounds, to find the slot before its regenerative powers transform it into a young slot. When the PCs find the slot, it is sitting at the position marked X on the basement map, eating rats. The slot resembles a tadpole. It has a translucent tail and shriveled hind feet. It pulls itself along using its forearms. It will not flee from combat unless a bright light is shined on it. The PCs can fight from the tops of the boxes and crates that fill the basement, adding a +1 to their attack rolls and improving their armor class by 2. The baby slod is an adept climber, but because its hind section is underdeveloped, it has difficulty attacking PCs standing above it. It is driven by its appetite and follows a PC who taunts it with food. The baby slot cannot gate, use its stunning croak, or impregnate foes. It has not been alive long enough to gain these abilities. After 1 turn, the baby slot transforms into a young slot and acquires new statistics. PCs witnessing the 1 round transformation must make a saving throw versus paralyzation or be unable to act during the round because of the revulsion caused by the slot's molting process. The baby's pink flesh darkens to red, its tail becomes a stub, and its rear legs become stronger. The young slot moves on all fours and is more clumsy. The transformation process does not heal wounds suffered by the slad in its baby form. The DM will know that the young slad can kill a low level character with a single bite. DMs are advised to administer damage from the bite in a dramatic fashion and not kill PCs outright. Leaving a PC dangling with 2 hit points left is a far more effective method of creating tension during combat. Concluding the adventure. When the City Watch arrives on the scene, the PCs should have just finished the combat. After a brief interrogation, they are escorted from the theater. A couple of days later, the Watch contacts the PCs and arranges to give them the possessions of Kiran Miss, who had no next of kin. The PCs receive a wand of misplaced objects with 50 charges, a ring of chameleon power, a buckle knife +1, and Kiran Mist's traveling spellbook with the following spells: Chain Self, Conjure Spell Component, Scatter Spray, Ventriloquism, Blur, Improve Phantasmal Force, Sense Shifting, Lore Valim's Creeping Shadow, Spectral Force, Watery Double, and Hallucinatory Terrain. The DM may substitute other items as he or she sees fit. The PCs should not receive the spellbook if there is no mage in the party, as it is worth too much money. The city closes the Midnight Theater for a time and reopens it just in time for the festival season, but it never fares as well as when Kieran ran the show. Maybe some business minded PC could do a better job, and there is always the chance that the original owner of the ensnarement spell comes to the city looking for its whereabouts. PCs searching among the props and costumes in the basement might find the manuscript for the lost play titled The Pirate King, which tells the story of the pirate Bloody Rupert and Katiana, the noble woman who captures his heart. Hidden in the pages of this manuscript is a treasure map. The map could pinpoint the location of a pirate horde somewhere in the city, or it could be a false map. Either way, the lost play and the map are excellent hooks for future adventures. Clever DMs can use the events at the Midnight Theater as the basis for a city paced campaign. Perhaps one of the people attending the play is a noble man in need of brave heroes. The manner in which the PCs handle the slot might encourage this NPC to approach them with a job offer. Perhaps the noble is being threatened by a local thieves guild, or perhaps the noble wants the PCs to gather incriminating evidence on a sinister rival. The possibilities for intrigue and adventure are endless. Thank you for listening to this audio reading of Stage Fright, published in Dungeon Magazine issue 77. I hope you enjoyed and have a great day. Best regards, Reed.